Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine avatara varishtaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha. The love of God, devotion. I am devoted to God. My whole entire being placed at His feet in all respects. For His sake is devotion. My heart given to Him, where my bodily existence is totally unperceived. My bodily existence I am not aware of. My heart alone, independent of the entire being, mind, senses, intellect, all those excluded. My heart alone is given to God. In ecstatic love of God is prema, love of God. In love, I forget body. In devotion, I offer my bodily existence. So, the path of devotion and love of God, as we move from basic devotions, small spiritual practices of calling on God, doing some japa, dhyana, and all preliminary ways of doing, we enter into real states of these sadhanas. We saw in this smarana, we have reached a very high state of existence equal to the samadhi sthiti of the yoga, the nididhyasana sthiti of the advaitic practices. The same thing we see how we get the vision of God in that. All things merge and only form alone remains, and illumined by the pure consciousness Shuddha Chaitanya, the infinite existence behind is illumining, just like I am alive by the consciousness that is backing me. I am alive because Chaitanya is touching me. Life is expression of consciousness through matter. Life is expression of Chaitanya through Jada. Like that, the form which I had conceived in my mind through Shravana, beginning with the hearing of God in various ways, has the visualization and has entered with the clear formation of the actually Chaitanya body. It is Chaitanya body. It is made up of consciousness. It was my mental picture created by my mind. Now it is illumined by the mind is matter, body is matter. My mind, with matter, I had conceived, constructed the body, and the absolute Chaitanya, the impersonal absolute, has touched it and made it alive. I am seeing a live God standing before me. In Smarana, I forget the whole thing. Only Smarana, pure awareness, awareness, pure awareness, free from all aspects, only supported by love, prema, Smarana. So in this Smarana we saw this aspect, and what do we get from this is I reach Him, I see Him, I attain Him. And the next devotions in the Navada Bhakti is what you do after having seen God, as if this is actually in basic level, at gross level, we may feel a different understanding of general understanding with the worldly backing, worldly background, or as preliminary exercises we may see these Navada Bhakti, but when it comes to the actuality, we say Balya, Yavana, old age, all this we study in medical science, but when we experience that, we see children moving about, we see old people moving about, we see youths moving about, we understand what it means, but the stages I pass through, in reality, to understand is one thing, to conceive is another thing, to deal with is another thing, and to experience those states are different. And we are going through the actual experience, what happens in each of these stages. Shravana. Shravana means we understand what it is. We can conceive. Shravana means what? Going to Harikatha, hearing, Guru, going to Guru, and have we heard it? Real hearing means what it is. Real Kirtana means what it is. We see people singing here, there, in the so many satsangas. We think that is Kirtana. But when the state of Kirtana you achieve, when you enter into state of, it's a state. It's like sleep is a state. Dream is a state of existence. We are passing through the states of sadhana. Each step when you stand, how do you experience that in your life? That is what we are seeing through. And when we come to this exact aspect of our existence, in Smarana, you forget the body. You can see even normal people thinking of something, sitting in blank eyes. Somewhere their mind is. This is gross level of Smarana. This Smarana is at your spiritual level of Smarana, wherein you have entered into a state of Smarana. And this Smarana is what is making the Lord present Himself. You have forgotten the body, you have forgotten the world, where you are, time and space, everything you have forgotten. That moment only Smarana is there. And it forces God to appear, to manifest, to present Himself. It is a revelation. God reveals Himself. In what state does He reveal Himself? In and through. It is actually my conception. It was my conception, my imagination, my formation. And God appears in and through the same form which I have conceived in my mind. And God has no limitations. My conception of God and Leela may be different from your conception of God and Leela, but He manifests in the same way you conceive. You enter into a relationship, same way He presents, and then we see here the relationship apart from the relationship and this one. Slowly He will take us to the actual Leela. Slow transformation in me and slow transformation in God's appearances and all. Just like you see a child growing in front of you into a youth, here the Lord's presentation which I had conceived and the actual Leela of the Lord when Sri Ramakrishna came to this earth and lived. Actually, how was it? Each stage of his life, how glorious, how he used to live, move about with people, how he used to be in God conscious state day and night. All this we first conceive and meditate on the form that we see in the shrine, and then we enter into the actual Leela, Hridi Vrindavana. Sri Ramakrishna used to again and again Hridi Vrindavana. You enter into Vrindavana. You are there actually when it happened. What was it? And the same thing is happening now, and you are there. It is happening, and you are there. That you entered into the remote past where it was going on. So, Smarana takes you to a realm where it is a reality. In reality, there is no time limitations. Time is not there. Time appears and disappears. Same time appears, disappears. Like you have fed something into a computer. Whenever you call, the same presentation is there. Because time passed away, it will not change. Whatever you have recorded, any time, any number of times you present, it is same live. Suppose you have recorded one scene or an incident video you have taken, and each time you project it, the same comes. It doesn't, because the time passed, it doesn't come something changed. But here you see the same thing happens, because the time is there in the universe, but time is not applicable to the what you are recorded. It remains the same. So you enter the same time when it is happening back into the in absolute. There is no time. This belongs to the absolute, eternal. The Leela is eternally going on. You can tap it anytime. You can log into it anytime and experience the same thing happening now. So this in Smarana, you lose all your external awareness and enter into the realm when it was happening. How did Vyasa write all the Puranas, what had happened in millions of years perhaps before? We do not know. The time concept is entirely different from modern time concept, the linear movement. But in actuality, it's a different thing. We don't know when it happened, but the Vyasa actually visualizes the things and writes it. So we take this as Leela of God always as eternal, unchanging reality. So we see here in Smarana, it takes us beyond the limitations of time and space, and therefore the consciousness that is pervading the universe, that is beyond the relative existence, manifests in and through the same form that I have conceived, and I see a living God in my presence. This is Yoga Yukta Sthiti. I am united with the reality. In this state, we see, conceive the Lord. We abhyasa yoga yuktena chetasa nanya gamina paramam purusham divyam yati parthanu chintayan anuchintayan. When you constantly think anuchintana, when we say anuchintana, it is a anu always represents unbroken thought. When I think of a thing in an unbroken way, the same thought coming. The same thought coming, suppose japa I am doing, and japa becomes still. The same is there, unmoving as if the japa. It is anuchintana is going on. I am taking the form of the Lord. I fixed in my whole being in that vision. I become still. We can see Sri Ramakrishna each time he enters into the samadhi sthiti, be it bhava samadhi or savikalpa samadhi, whatever it is. When he enters into samadhi, the whole thing has become still. Inside the Leela is going on. So, my existence comes into picture unseen. I am seeing who am I, where am I, how am I or not is not perceived. He alone is there. Divyam Purusham. The divine being, when we say Divya, it is lighted by consciousness, Chaitanya, Chinmaya. It is full of, in Khandana Bhavavandana, we sing for Arati of Ramakrishna, Chidghanakai, Chidghanakai, made up of consciousness. The body is made up of consciousness, Chaitanya. This is matter, Jada, Jadavastu Sharira, and Chaitanya touching it and becoming conscious, appearing to be conscious. It is not consciousness, it is extended consciousness. Like the sunlight reflected inside the room, we are seeing ourselves conscious, but real consciousness is entirely different. It is the God's form is made up of Shuddha Chaitanya, where Prakriti and matter are not there. That state of this one. So, Abhyasa Yoga Yuktena, by constant, how do you enter into this state is Abhyasa Yoga Yuktena. Yoga Yukta Abhyasa, constant practice. Abhyasa Yoga Yuktena. Yoga itself is to become united. Being united in that state of being united. I am in the state, how did I attain? Constant practice. The remembrance, the smarana, constant smarana, unbroken smarana. I have forgotten the word. No other thought is coming in my mind. No waving. The mind is still and reflecting only Lord. Intellect is silently observing. The body is still and my heart alone is stretching, and through it I am seeing the form. Abhyasa Yoga Yuktena Chetasa Namnya Gamina. Chetasa, I am this consciousness manifested is Chetana. Chetasa, Chetana. Chetana is expression of consciousness. I am conscious. The consciousness I am expressing, I am understanding, cognition is there. I am perceiving. This perception, what instrument I am using to perceive God in samadhi is Chetana. Chetasa Nanyagamina. Chetas is different from manas. The awareness is active part of the consciousness. So, in awareness, there is no movement. Chetasa Nanyagamina. It doesn't go anywhere. How did it attain? Through Abhyasa. Abhyasa Yoga Yuktena Chetasa Nanyagamina. What happens? Paramam Purusham Divyam. Paramam Purusham Divyam. The Supreme Being, the ultimate reality. Paramam Purusham Divyam. Yati. I approach. I move to, I see, I actualize. Yadi Parthanuchintayan, Anuchintayan. Constant remembrance has made you to get that vision of God. So this from Bhagavad Gita, we see how in this state of existence, how God manifests and how I visualize it. Means visualization is not the visualization of practice. It's actually seeing. I see God. Hmm. This is what we see. Bhagavad Gita is an excellent exposition of the reality. When you start sadhana, spiritual practices, as you advance in spiritual practices, two texts. One is the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, which we are studying now, and Bhagavad Gita. You see every bit of information clearly mentioned, but we each time or whenever we read Bhagavad Gita, we have the background not of sadhana and practice, diving into spiritual practices, but worldly understanding of God, worldly understanding of. That's why in Smarana, there should not be any materialistic expressions or anything connected with material desires or needs, even needs of life at material level will not be there. If it is there, you cannot enter into anusmarana. All things are taken care by the nature and God. I have given myself, I don't have, I now, I am not there after having given. So, in Kirtana itself, I start offering myself. I start bringing that beyond into my existence, in this relative existence. I'm pulling it, the absolute infinite, I'm trying to bring it into the finite and view in Kirtana. I cannot stretch, but in Smarana, I become so light. I am filled with Him, and the material aspect has gone away. I start floating. I start floating in reality. So, this is when we see Anuchintayan. What happens is you attain Him. Yati Parthanuchintayan. Anuchintayan Yati. The person who is constantly remembered by the Yoga Yukta, Abhyasa Yoga Yukta, he reaches that. Similarly, we see Ananya Cheta Satatam Yomam Smarati Nityasha Tasyaham Sulva Partha Nitya Yuktasya Yoginaha. Yogi, one who is in union with God. Yogi means yoga, yogi. Yogi is one who in constant union with God. Yogina. What happens when he is in yoga? Ananya chetaha. The chetas is fixed like the lamp in Nirvata, where there is no wind movement. Wind is not moving, in that if you keep a lamp burning, how it will be just like a painted Deepashikha. Deepashikha it is there. You keep a glass box in which you light a lamp and keep, and just air, small amount of air to enter to keep the lamp alive, and an exhaust. You see that it is painted or it is real. You cannot identify. This is Ananya Cheta. It is not flickering. It is not moving. It is still. It is still in God. Ananya Cheta. With that Ananya Chetaha, a person who is in Ananya Chetas. Ananya Chetas, Satatam, unbroken. It is constant. Satatam. Yomam Smarati Nityashaha. You see the terms. Yomam Smarati Nityashaha. Smarati. Nityata. Constantly. At all times. Nitya and Shashvata. These two terms are we constantly. Shashvata is eternal. Nitya is unbroken. Every moment that constitutes gives nityata, satata, nitya. Shashvata is where this nityata ends in at the cosmic or beyond cosmic level, as if Shashvata. Everything you see is passing. This passing is unbroken. There is no passing at all. Is Shashvata. There is passing, but unbroken passing. Thoughts are, one is touching the other, one is touching the other. It is linked to each other. A chain, as if. So, Nityasha, every moment is passing, but he is seeing the passing time, but he is holding on to the Lord's feet. So we see that Ananya Cheta Satam Yomam Smarati Nityasha Tasyaham Sulabha Partha. To him, Tasyaham Sulabha Partha. I am very easily available. Satatam. I see many sadhakas struggling, but unable to hold on to or get that vision what we are expecting. Oh, I have not yet seen. Where is that reality? Why am I missing this? Is that the sadhata is missing. You can attend to all the duties of your life. That's why Sri Ramakrishna and all saints say, reduce your avatara, especially we saw in Ramayana, Navada Bhakti. Reduce your activities to minimum. Now time is over. Your life is going. Break all limitations. Do what is just necessary to continue life and rest. Stretch yourself into the eternal. Hold on to me. Let your mind hold me. Let your thoughts, feelings, let your actions be offered to me. For my sake you are living. You are not living for your sake anymore. You are not going to live for anybody's sake now, because God is there for everyone. But whatever duties you have, do it for my sake. I have kept you. It is my responsibility that I have kept you to do activities there or work. That doesn't mean that you should break that and come out. So here he says, Nityashaha. Then we see how the Ananya Cheta Satam Yomam Smarati Nityasha Tasyaham Sulabha Partha Saulabhya Paripurnaya. He is Sulabha, Saulabhya Paripurnaya. He is so Sulabha, so easy to understand, so simple. We make ourselves complicated. Limitations are what we put upon ourselves. Freedom is what nature and God has given us. We have put on ourselves lot of limitations. That limitations is making us bound in the world of Maya. Otherwise, God is Sulabha. Sulabha Partha, to whom he is Sulabha, Nitya Yuktasya Yoginaha. He is Sulabha for the Nitya Yukta, the one who is constantly united. That is unbroken smarana, anusmarana. How am I going to become Nitya Yukta? being united with God at all times, Nitya Yukta, the time is passing, but I have not left God from my mind. I have not left His presence. I have not dropped off His presence at any time in my existence. It's continuing, it is continuing, it is continuing. Time alone is passing. My holding on to God this is Smarana. And it is here that you see God in actual reality. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.